In this video, we're going to continue to explore the assets that we can find in the asset store. And in this case, I am in my assets section where I already downloaded previously. Well, this is not downloaded yet, but I just added this as a favorite in my asset space in Unity. And in the previous lesson, we saw we can use from GitHub and install the desktop GitHub application, and we can run like some samples like this one here, which was the Fontainebleau demo for an exterior scenario with the different lighting. So we also found this one here, which is the law script. We found this in the manual, so we can find samples by following the instructions in the manual, and we got here eventually, and this is now in our asset space. So if I want to open this up, I need to open it in Unity. So I need to use a project. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you that you can start with an existing project or you can create a new project. But it's essential that you use the correct render pipeline, otherwise you could have issues. So once you open or create a new project, you can go in the package manager window, which we already saw previously, and from here you will find into the my asset part, into the my asset space, everything that you have in your my asset folder in the Unity website. So you can see now I can actually download it from here. So this is the Lost Script 2D sample project. If I click now downloading, it will download and then it can be playable in the editor. So you can either keep an existing project. You can start with an existing project by opening it up, or just create a new project and choose the correct um, template or starting point. Because if you're doing 2D, you probably want to use Universal 2D or something in 2D. If you're doing 3D, you need to use 3D. So the first thing you need to know is whether you're gonna create a 2D game or a 3D game. Now, the editor is the same. It just works a little bit different. For example, if we go here in the manual, we can see 2D game development. If we want to know more about this, you'll find all the steps and how you can start by set up the initial packages. So these are the packages you probably need when you are creating a new project or you are starting with a template. And so it's going to give you all the instructions, which are kind of also a little bit advanced. So probably the best thing you want to do, the quickest thing you want to do is just open a template. Otherwise, again, here you see in the package manager, you need to install the various packages you need manually, and rather than starting with a template or a demo file, because also we have demos and we have other samples we can get from the asset store. Now, after you do that, you can proceed with the various parts. Creating an entire video game takes a lot of time, so probably you don't want to do that from A to Z, or maybe you are in a team, or probably you're gonna only do some part of a video game. But doing an entire video game alone is kind of too overwhelming. I think it takes a lot of efforts, a lot of time. But anyway, these are all the steps you probably need to go through when creating a video game. So you need to design the sprites with the graphic design software. So you create the characters, the environment, and then you can assemble everything together. You need sounds, you need, well, a lot of different type of assets, and you can find all the information in here. Whatever you need to know is in here. Just takes time to explore everything. Now in this course we're gonna focus more in the 3D part, but probably gonna create more video guys in the future, or maybe an entire course dedicated to the 2D game development. Now they're not so different in terms of basic operation. So also here in the 3D game development, we need to configure our initial settings. So which render we're gonna use. So here is suggesting that we use the universal render pipeline, but we know that there are also others. So we have built-in and also the HD render pipeline, and then we proceed. So also here it's gonna be impossible to create an entire 3D game alone, well, it's probably going to be something really simple if you do it, because also you need programming, you need coding skills, not only modeling and designer. Now, for the 3D assets that you're going to bring in, there are some packages, some tools that you can install in your editor, in your Unity editor, like the Pro Builder, for example, which is used for modeling and building inside um, Unity, but probably you can't do much with that. So you need a modeling software where you can create your models. For example, you can use Blender, which is open source, or you can use Maya, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, SketchUp, and much, much more. Many more different type of software. Because with the Pro Builder, you probably gonna only do prototyping, so kind of a drafting the 3D level, the 3D models, the 3D assets. And then to create more professional assets, you need more professional software. Again, for 3D modeling, I just show you some possibilities. If you want to go forward with more detailed models, you probably want to go into sculpting and like modeling like clay, and you can use ZBrush, you can use Mudbox, you can also use Blender for sculpting. And to do better materials, you probably need specific software like Substance 3D to create realistic materials, or there is an alternative which is called Armor Paint, and it's not open source, but well, it is in a way, but it's also cheaper. And so you need to start importing 3D models, 3D files. You can you can see there are many formats that Unity supports. So you can import Max, Blender, FBX, and much more. And then you can import materials. You can import environments. You can use 2D graphics, not only 3D graphics, also in the 3D world. And you can import animation. You can import sounds and lighting, etc., etc. So things you can do it directly in Unity, and there are others that you just need to import. But for this video, we're just gonna import an entire project. So not just a single scene. Well, it could be a single scene, but not just a single material or a single object. We're gonna import everything. Now, when you import in an existing project, it's gonna ask you if you wanna keep both settings or if you want to override with the settings that are in the project that you are importing. So you either import and override, or you just switch project and it basically just gonna go into another project, leaving the one that you're using intact. So what I want to do here is just override everything because I don't have anything in this project. I just created this project brand new just for the sake of importing this sample file, this demo file. So I'm just gonna override, install and upgrade everything that is needed to be installed and upgraded. And there you go. Now it's giving me a list of everything that we are importing. So we have sounds, we have sound effects, we have music, we have character animation, sprites, so 2D stuff, environments, gameplay, so coding, and then we have materials, etc., etc. So everything in the end, it's all about a list of folders. It's all about importing assets, settings, packages, and this is all the things we're going to override. So you can see that this is all assets that like define the project settings or the quality settings or the rendering uh, or other stuff concerning lighting, rendering, etc., etc. So if you override, everything that you will have in your project will be lost and it will be overwritten by the thing you import. You can also re-import, you can also re-download, you can also remove from this project. So you can see all the assets now appear in the project panel down there. Some other information you will find it here in the package manager. So you see everything that you download here, and then you also have some images showing you how the game would look like. But we can now play it directly and simulate it directly on Unity. So it's on, it's downloaded, imported. Now we just need to find it in here. And usually you need to find a folder called scenes where you probably have the scenes. Otherwise, everything is organized into different folders. So 2D assets, 3D assets, sounds, and wherever. So the quickest thing I usually do is go up here in the filters and adjust, select the thing I want to see, which is only the scene. So if I select the scene, these are the only 3 scenes that are now in this project. So probably the one is the original, which is going to be like an empty scene. So if I double click, okay, and this is the main. So main is the actual game. And if you double click here, you can see this is kind of empty. And if I double click, another one is, well, the game is right here. It's the main scene asset. So the scene asset is kind of a container, and in the scene assets, we have all the others. We have everything we set up so far. So again, play, and now we can play the scene. So I can see the character moving, which is our sprite, and then I can see the trees and the background and the environment and everything else, which is part of a completely complex 3D world development and 2D world development. So let me stop. And now I can also use the scene mode, not the game mode. If I want to explore and see, I can select this stuff. I can see it from here. So what is this? This is probably a backdrop panel, kind of. So if I select it, I can see this is called environment, background sky. I can go into the inspector and I can see then the extra information, the position, the rotation, and which material is using, if it's using a material. This is just a graphic, is not using, and which render is using. You can see the sprite information right here, and it is using a material. If you see down there, it's called the sky gradient. And then I can open up the sprite editor if I want to know more, and so on. So depending on where you click, you will see some more information in the inspector that will tell you everything about that asset you are selecting. Now, if you go up there and switch from 2D and to 3D to 2D, you can also do it with this little gizmo in here. You can click and change. You can see the scene from the top, from the side. You can see this is perfectly flat. So we can also click in the middle and switch from 2D and 3D, so perspective and flat. But even though we do this, this is just a flat panel if we look at it from a side view. So we are still in the 3D world after all. So Unity editor is in 3D, it's a virtual 3D world, but when we work in 2D, we're just using flat props and sprites and, you know, everything else we don't really care about. Now let me go to window here, go back to package manager. So we can find all the assets right here and all the built-in stuff in the first section. So this is everything, it's in the project. So we have packages, we are using the 2D sample project log script, and we are using the packages that are listed in here. So when you use a template, essentially you have everything like pre-installed. Otherwise, you need to install it yourself if something is missing, or you can also install extra stuff, add-ons, or basically extra functions, extra functionalities like the Pro Builder, etc. So in the asset store, we find complete scenes that we can use. And in this lesson, we're going to just focus on that. But also, you can sell assets. You don't only like download and buy, but you can also sell if you want. Of course, for any case, you need an account. So create a Unity account. If you don't have it, just create it. And once you have it, you can sign in. And there it is. Now I am in, and you can see there are many offers, sale, Black Friday, and etc. etc. So we have 3D, 2D, add-ons, audio, and so on. We already see this before. So I'm just gonna go in the templates. So this is where you find templates for sale or for free that you can use to start. And maybe you have specific things. Or if we go in the essentials, you find, I think, the most important assets. So for example, you have a starter asset. Well, more than one starter assets. If you think you want to do a first person simulation or application or game, you can start with the starter assets in first person, or if you want to do third person, there is a third person, and then you have starter assets for character, animation, and much more. So this is a pretty important part of the asset store. So what I'm going to do here is showing you these more advanced levels in 3D, which are not like complete levels. This is just to get you started. So you will find a character, you will find the possibility to play and simulate in a 3D world the movements and the exploration of a character in first person or third person, and also a really basic 3D world made of drafting, prototyping, like ProBuilder stuff. So really easy, really simple uh, polygonal modeling that you can see there. So again, to get started. And so we don't care about animation right now, but you find so many starter assets. But not only, you find also scenes like exterior scenes, like this Unity terrain, and you see you have a Viking village. URP means Universal Render Pipeline. HDRP means High Definition Render Pipeline. So make sure that when you open this, you are in the specific environment. So if you want to use this one here, you're going to use a URP preset project where you use Universal Render Pipeline. So every time we can click and directly open it in Unity. If we already opened the project, we can just bring it in, or we can just add it into my assets, waiting for to be downloaded and imported in your project. And there are so many of these, so I'm just gonna, add a few, and then we're gonna work with those. So again, if I go in my area, in my account, I have my assets area, and I can see everything that I have inserted here so far. Again, these are not downloaded yet, these are not imported yet, these are just there for you to be used. Now, if I click, you can see that I can install this right here, but this is a 2D, project. So probably, well, I can download it here, but I'm not gonna import it in here. So you can download, even if you are in another project, doesn't matter, and then you can use it once it's ready in another project. So I'm gonna download. This is the first person I just downloaded, but I'm gonna close this and I'm gonna open up a new one. So I can also go here and create a new project, not a new scene, but let's create a new project. And again, now is the time to choose the correct renderer, because if we are opening a universal render pipeline scene, we want to start with a universal render pipeline project. If we want to do HDRP, we're going to use HDRP. So depending on what we want to create, but not all the assets will be ready for universal or a high definition render pipeline. So in case they're not compatible, we need to do some fixing. And I'm going to show you what a common problem would be if you don't have the uh, correct render pipeline with the correct scene. So this is the HDRP basic scene we already explored in a previous lesson. So there's nothing here, just a couple of objects you can see. So we're gonna import the new project. So I'm gonna go to Window, Package Manager, go into my asset space. So right here, just wait for the list to be visible. There you go. And now we're gonna keep using the first person. So first person is already downloaded. I just need to import it. So you can see it's already available. Just click import and continue here with the installation, upgrade, whatever. And while we wait that, I just want to also give you a couple of extra suggestions. So if we go and we decide we want to do 3D game development, let's follow here in the quick start guides. Quick start guides are really important, really useful in the Unity manual. And then you have like also here like starter kits, development kits, a series of tutorials that you can go through to understand how to design a level or a scene, how you can do all the workflow, basically explain of all the most important things that you need to do when developing a 3D game or a 2D game. So 3D game, and then you have like free 3D game kit for development, like this one here, for example, to follow the tutorials that you find in the Unity manual. So a lot of resources we can use. This is another one for creating a 3D beginner game with this kind of lemon character. And you can go through all the single steps from the beginning to the end if you think that you need it. Otherwise, we're gonna do most of these topics during the course, but this is extra learning content that you find. It's already available and you can use. You can see there are explanations for the lining, etc., etc. And also for coding and scripting, we have some tutorials. Now, of course, if you need to do basic game design, basic game development, basic game coding, that's going to be good. But otherwise, you need, well, to learn a lot more to become an expert. And we find also other tutorials like for 3ds Max, when you import from 3ds Max into Unity or others. And this is the 2D game development. And again, also here we have, you can see additional resource. We have all the walkthrough for a beginner to create a 2D game, creating the sprites, creating the animation, the interaction. And then we have 2D game kit, again, to have a basic package that we can use to use it while doing the tutorials, and then again more learning content in the learn section of the Unity side. So how to create sprites or materials or etc, etc. Okay, we finished here. I'm just gonna import and we're gonna finish the import and then we'll be ready. And what you will see, since I'm using here a universal render pipeline project inside an HD render pipeline preset, I show you what's going to happen. Let me go into the scenes and double click the playground scene. Now this is supposed to look, doesn't supposed to look like this. It's supposed to look like this. So why it doesn't look like, you know, these objects are not looking like this? You may think that it's empty. Well, it's not empty. We just don't see the things. If we select, we can see the wireframe. So we have a lot of stuff in the scene. It's just not visible. Everything looks pink. Now the pink issue is all about the material and the rendering. So if we go in the inspector here and we go all the way down, we can see that this is using the universal render pipeline lit, which is a type of shader or material and is not compatible. So if we switch to HDRP lit, now it's compatible. Now I can see it. So it's all a matter of using, you know, everything correctly. So if you were planning to do universal render pipeline, then your materials needs to be in universal render pipeline. If you're using HDRP, you need high definition render pipeline materials and so on. So be careful when you import stuff because they may have another type of material differently from your render, which is again in here in the graphics section of the project settings. And it doesn't matter if you change low, medium, wherever, it's just another type of render. So it needs its own type of material. So this is how you fix it. Well, one way you can fix it. There are also other ways, but this is a quick explanation. So I think the best option is to directly open, instead of opening an HD base, I can use a universal like this one here. Again, it's a previous project we used before. And let's do the import again. So once it's downloaded, the good news is once it's downloaded, it's there. Just need to go in the My Assets space and not here, but My Assets, okay. And from here, just select it and import it. So you don't need to download it again. Just go here, import and upgrade. Just wait a few seconds and then it will be ready to be open. So let's go here, a couple of extra seconds, and it will be ready. And once we open up the scene, everything should be nice and visible. So let's close this. Again, I'm gonna go into the scene in my project. I'm gonna filter here. I'm gonna select playground, and there you go. Now, when it looks blue, it's less important because it's just loading the materials and the shaders. So don't worry if it looks blue or azure. Worry if it's looking pink. If it's looking pink, there is something not going right. So I'm gonna open this scene and just gonna explore again. And now you can see everything is nice and clean and visible. So this will be all for this lesson. Subscribe if you want to stay updated. Join the channel if you want to thank us. Check out other courses in 3D modeling, 3D materials, 3D sculpting, and so on. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lesson.